So I have saved up the money, I have picked a location, and I have built up my team. Today is going to be very special because I am now analyzing two potential rental properties, and we are going to decide together which one makes the most sense to choose for my very first out-of-state real estate investment purchase. What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Javon, and you are watching a playlist that is detailing my very first out-of-state real estate investment property purchase. I'm super excited to share this journey with you guys, and if you don't know, this is the 5th episode of the entire series. So if you haven't caught the other episodes, no worries. I'll leave a link below in the description so you can start from the very beginning to where we are now. Before we begin today's video, I ask for a huge favor. Go down below and hit that like button down for me until it turns blue. And also while you're down there, subscribe to the channel. By smashing that like button until it turns blue, you are letting the YouTube algorithm know that the video is going to be amazing. And by subscribing to the channel, you don't miss it when I post future videos to this playlist and also to this channel as well. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into what I have for you guys. My realtor and I have been scrubbing the market looking for a house that I can invest in that falls under my niche. For those of you who don't know, that my niche is basically described as looking for a single family home, a 3-bed, 2-bath, 3-bed, 1-bath. And for that single family home, I want it to have a maximum purchase price of $90,000. I prefer to stay under $90,000 if possible. If the house costs under $70,000 or $70,000, then I can afford up to $5,000 to $6,000 worth of repairs. Anything over 70, I'm hoping to be already as close to rent ready as possible without me having to dump a ton of money into it to get it rent ready. The cash on cash that I am hoping to have is going to be 8% or over, and that is basically a description of what my niche is. Now, after hearing my niche, if your first thought is, where in the world can I afford to find property that costs that little without being a slumlord? I suggest you watch this video where I break down how I went about finding the location that I invest in and making sure that location that I picked was right for me and could fit my niche properly. Now, after doing a lot of searching and waiting, my realtor and I came across two properties that I am personally interested in. The first property we'll call House A has been listed for $59,000, and the second property we'll call House B has been listed for $75,000, but my realtor, after examining it, thinks that we can snag it for $70,000. House A has 874 square feet, and House B has 975 square feet. Now, after visiting House A, my realtor determined that even though it was listed as a 3-bed, 1-bath, it was really a 2-bed, 1-bath, and the den area had been converted into a bedroom to add an additional space. Now, I could keep the additional bedroom and list it as a 3-1, but in my opinion, having it makes the layout kind of weird. So we determined that by converting it back to a 2-bed, 1-bath, it could probably command $780 a month in rent. House B, on the other hand, is a 3-bed, 1-bath, and it already has a tenant in place. The tenant's contract is set to expire sometime next year, but they are currently paying $750 a month. That is $30 less than what we think we can get from House A, but after looking at House B, my realtor realized that it is in the same area of some of the other properties that he currently invests and owns. And from those properties and other comparisons in the area, he believes that House B, even though it is renting for $750, we could get it up to $950 just by looking at the fair market rent rates. So those are the two properties that I am currently looking at and analyzing, going over with my realtor to make sure whichever one I choose is going to be the best one for me. But after talking with my realtor, the next thing I did was I talked to my lender just to reconfirm the interest rates that I should be expecting on whatever house I choose. And my lender told me that the interest rates I'm expecting is anywhere between 3.6 to 3.8%, right? So after knowing the interest rates, after looking at those two houses, how do we begin comparing them? The answer is very simple. All we have to do is run the numbers. So what you're seeing on the screen in front of you is a calculator that I made in order to help me find out if a property is worth investing in. There are plenty of calculators like this online that you can find. An example is one that you can find on biggerpockets.com. I made one myself so that way I can intimately understand what is going on behind the scenes. So for the list price for house A, we have it at $59,000. And for the down payment, percentage point that I'm putting down, that is going to be 20%, which is going to come out to $11,800. Now the closing cost, my lender told me, is going to be roughly around $5,000. So I manipulated the percentage to match what the closing cost should be. If you look down below, you see I have a down payment of $11,800 and closing cost of $5,015. So that means that the total invested into house A, assuming there are no repairs needing to be made to get it rent ready, is going to be $16,815 with an interest rate of 4%. Now at this point, if you're thinking, Javon, you said you were quoted 3.6%, why are you putting 4% as your interest rate? The answer to that is really simple. I love being conservative with my numbers. If I'm conservative with my numbers, then at the end of the day, the worst option could possibly be that I get exactly what I want, but the best option could be that my expectations are blown out of the water. So stay conservative if you can. Now on the right side of the screen, I put in our estimated income for rent based on comparisons in the area. And we see that for a total of expenses, it's going to be $610, but my monthly income for the rent is going to be $780. Now let's break down the expenses real quick so that way we know what we're looking at. For the property taxes, I looked at what the house had paid in property taxes before, but I also kept in mind that how much you pay in property taxes if you are owning the house and living in it as a primary residence versus if you are using that house as a rental property are going to be two different values. So I upped the property taxes a little bit more than what I saw just to account for that fact. Next, we have the home insurance. This is what I plugged in based on what my insurance person quoted me for that house, which comes out to $75 a month. Under that, we see repairs and maintenance. I have that around 7%, kind of high, but not really all that high. So that comes out to $54.60 a month. Vacancy, I calculated for what was usual in this area, had that at 5%, and capital expenditures, which is usually things like a roof or HVAC or infrastructure or big ticket items, basically, I calculated that at 5% as well. Management fee, that's how much my property management is going to charge me to take care of this property. That is 10% of the rent, and all of that combined together equals $610.94. Now, after those expenses are paid, what we have left over is called cash flow, and we see that the monthly cash flow on this property is going to be $169.06 with a cash on cash return of 12%, which is actually pretty good. It's more than the 8% I was asking for. So that is basically house A. Now that we know the numbers a little bit better for house A, let's take a look at house B. Looking at the same calculator, I put in my listing price of $70,000 for how much me and my realtor think we can get for house B. And we see that the closing cost down below is still around $5,015 to make the comparisons even. Now, if I put a 20% down payment on $70,000, that is going to be $14,000. So closing costs plus down payment is going to be $19,015, assuming I have no repairs to make to get this place rent ready. And since it already has a tenant in place, that could be a very fair assumption. I'll find out more if I go with it and get an inspection afterwards. So $19,000 out of pocket. The estimated monthly income right now, what the tenant is paying, is $750. Now, I plugged in all the information I mentioned before, so the total expenses is going to be $649.85. The monthly cash flow is going to be $100.15. The cash on cash is going to be a little bit above 6%, and the amount of years I'll have to wait until I get full payback of my total investment is going to be around 15 years. Now, that is with the rent being at what it is now. If we take a look at what the rent could potentially be, we see that the monthly cash flow explodes all the way up into the 200s. The cash on cash goes from a 6% to roughly a little over 15%, and the deal looks a lot better. Now, I may have to tweak these numbers a bit so to include for repair costs. Maybe I'll find out, like I said, more after the inspection is done. But if I could get this house up to the rent that it is supposed to be commanding versus the rent that it is commanding now, it is potentially a better deal. So with that, you have a complete breakdown of what the numbers look like, but the numbers aren't the only things to keep in mind. They are really a part of the bigger picture, but there is still more to be said. So some of the other things that I have to keep in mind is that House A is currently close to downtown, and just being close to downtown has potential to impact its appreciation over time in a positive way. Another thing that I have to consider for House A is that the seller is currently offering $6,000 for repair work and 3% of closing costs. So knowing that sends a warm and fuzzy in my heart. House A does need to have its bathroom repaired. The floor tiling is cracked. The tub looks a mess, and I think the toilet needs replacing as well, just from first inspection. House B, on the other hand, when initially comparing it to House A, it looks like it has a lower cash on cash return. But if we are looking at House B as far as its potential growth to increase rents to fair market rate values, then House B has a tremendous opportunity to grow as I maintain it in the future. House B is also close to a military base, which increases my clientele and also has some positive notes for appreciation as well. House B also has a tenant, which depending on how you look at it, could be a good or a bad thing. If that is not enough information to make you go into an overload, here are just some more quick facts. Even though the seller of House A is offering 3% of closing costs in the state that I am investing in, the state dictates that if you are using the property purchase as a rental investment, then the seller can only cover 2% of closing costs. So that saves the seller some money, but it's a bummer for me as a buyer. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that the current asking price for House A is $59,000. So with a down payment of $11,800, that brings the loan to value amount equal to $47,200. This would be a problem considering the lowest amount of money my bank is willing to loan me is $50,000. So to make up for that, I would have to give an offer of $62,500 to bring up that 20% down payment, enough to make the loan to value $50,000. That increases my down payment from $11,800 to $12,500, but it does increase my loan to value amount to the $50,000 needed by the bank. Now, the seller would probably be ecstatic to get an offer that is worth more than what they are listing it for, but for me, the buyer, I have to think, is that something that I can actually do? When me and my realtor did some research on the area that House A was in, we could not find any good comps for houses like my House A that had recently been sold for more than $59,000. What that means for me is I could pay for an appraiser to go in and look at House A, but if the appraiser determined that House A was not worth more than $59,000, then my lender would not back me in this purchase. Now, there is the off chance that by doing some work on the bathroom and some small areas around the house, we could increase its value, but we don't know for sure. So then the question would become, what do I do? Do I order an appraisal for House A, go with House A and hope that after some small repairs they can appraise for what I want? Or do I go with House B, knowing that the numbers look just as well and that it actually should appraise well? Both houses are not bad deals in my eyes, honestly. They both have pros and cons, but that is the nature of business and investing. You have to analyze the risk and you have to analyze the gains and see, is it worth it for you? Now, if you want to know which house I decided to go invest in, then make sure you hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel so that way you don't miss my next video where I detail out which investment purchase property I have decided to go with. Until then, meet me down in the comments below. Let me know from what I have spelled out which decision makes more sense to you and why. I'm curious to know your insight. Now, keep in mind, you guys, this is my very first out-of-state process. I am sharing it with you. I am being as transparent as possible. That way you can learn and grow from all of the things that I'm doing, and that way I can document my journey alongside as well. The more people I help, the better it is for me, and also I'm hoping that this is going to be a positive way for me to grow. But with that being said, even after I go forward and make an offer on a home, we are still a long way from being done. I have came a long way, but there is still more to do. After I pick a house, I have to make an offer on it. I have to hope that the offer is accepted. After the offer is accepted, I have to order an inspection fee. Hopefully everything comes good with the home for inspections. If not, that might be a snag. After that, we have to get the appraisals done, and I still have to go through the underwriting process myself. There is still a lot to be done, and I am going to be sharing that whole experience, that whole journey with you. So make sure you subscribe, like I said, so that way you don't miss a thing. As always, it has been a blast shooting this video. I hope to see you next time, and until then, peace, love, and happiness.